Hey, Sydney.
Hey, Samuel.
What do you think is the hardest and most physically demanding job in the world, and why is it part-time podcast host?
Personally, for me, I have to read a book every
And no
month.
one knows how hard that is.
And that's really hard. No, a lot of people aren't reading books. And I mean, honestly, the reading level is at an all time low right now. People are really not, people don't even know how to read. And
And
one,
the
had to know how to read.
and the books we're reading, they just keep getting longer. It's crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah. And then I have to talk to my friend every week for an hour. It's really hard.
An hour. That you see the 1 hour. You don't see the 2 hours that we spend outside of the podcast working on the podcast. That's 3 hours a week. Have you ever worked 3 hours a week?
Guys, I just don't know how I'm going to keep doing this. I'm getting so little recognition. No one's DMing me every week and being like, wow, you're the hottest, coolest, smartest, most entertaining podcast host I've ever listened to. So how am I supposed to continue on?
I'm glad you're here on this Sunday. I'm going to get right into the message. I'm going to tell it like it is, as they say. Oh, I heard a hallelujah. Did you think I don't know what the hell is going on? And a lot of strange places. Where in the hell have you been? Hell, fire! Hell, fire! Hell, fire! All right. Okay, there's something else, too.
Hello and welcome to the Satire Fire podcast, your number one podcast for rating and reviewing your local industrial factories. My name is Samuel.
I'm Sydney.
And if you are new to the Satire Fire, this is a podcast all about satire and the fact that the world's on fire, as the name would imply. And what we do here is generally we read satirical books, then spend a couple of weeks dissecting them, breaking them down, talking about them, giving you analysis and context behind them so that hopefully you can enjoy satire as much as we do. But this week, we are not talking about a book. This is an interlude episode because we are giving ourselves a little bit of a break between our last series, which was Player Piano by Kurt Vonnegut, and next week, when we're going to be starting a new series led by Sydney on The Captain and the Glory by Paul Eggers?
Dave Eggers.
Dave Eggers.
But Paul Eggers, if you're out there, what's up?
And so to give us that little bit of a break in between series, what we are doing this week is instead talking about a satirical movie, specifically Modern Times, the Charlie Chaplin silent film. But before we talk too much about that movie, Sydney, have you been reading, watching, doing, thinking, planning anything that you want to talk
Plotting.
about today?
No. Yeah, I want to talk about a movie since we're talking about a movie
Hell yeah.
that's considered one of the great movies in history. I wanted to talk about Wuthering Heights. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, which
No,
version?
the one in quotation marks, the one that just came out.
The critics are raving mad.
I wanted to talk about Wuthering Heights, close quotations, starring
Okay.
Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi. I went to see it this past week. Well, I went to see it on opening weekend,
Okay.
and so what I'll say up front is I think a big critique of this movie that I've been seeing already is that it's not book accurate. one, I read Wuthering Heights, but I was 13 years old and like on a high horse.
So this is targeted for you.
Yeah, I was on a high horse about like reading a classic in middle school, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna read Wuthering Heights, and I did. But I don't remember very much about it because I was 13, so I don't think that I like have a lot of like input in that front. But I don't think it was trying to be book accurate in any way, hence the quotation marks. Like I see the critique, and I see, as a lover of books and as a person who likes the book more than the movie most of the time, I don't know that this one was like aiming for that. It was very camp. It was very like cinematic. It was very horny. Like, I really liked it. I think that's just like, if you go into it wanting Wuthering Heights, the book, you're going to be disappointed no matter what.
Yeah.
It's not like Wuthering Heights, the book, is like social commentary from what I know / remember. This
a satire, some have said.
Yeah, this movie's not at all. I mean, kind of. Like, there's like some people who are like, it's hard like when a story is about like a guy who comes from like Heathcliff inherently could be social commentary just because of who his character is.
Yeah.
But it really doesn't focus on that. Like, that's not the plot of this movie. There's like undertones of, yeah, this kid came from nothing and this drunk father took him in, and his spoiled but also abused and sad daughter, lonely daughter, kind of saw him as like her new pet is what they call it. But like, so like you could see the social commentary there if you work for it, but it's not really about that, I guess, is what I'm saying. Like, the socio-political aspects of the book are for sure not the forefront of the movie plot. And it's just kind of like a little bit of a like raunchy romance about these crazy people. But like, that being said, it's really entertaining and it's beautiful. Like, the film was beautiful. Setting, costumes. Margot Robbie's hot. Some people think Jacob Elordi's hot. I'm not gonna like say he's not. I'm not really like.
I was thinking about this while I was editing one of the podcasts previous to this one, where you were bashing Noah Kahan for not being hot, and in the middle of editing, I was like, wait a second, this bitch is a lesbian. Why does she have any say in what men are hot?
I should stop commenting on every single time. I'm like, well, some people might think that, but
yeah, but some people are not lesbians.
But no, so like, I really enjoyed the movie, and I thought like a lot of aspects of it were really well done. It's definitely like crazy. It's very gothic, so like throwback to like very gothic energy. I think Charlie XCX did a great job. I love my girl Charlie. She did a great job with the music. So I liked it, but I think that like, I'm not going to be like, wow, greatest film I've ever seen. I just enjoyed it. But
yeah, I remember going into the like marketing for the movie that Emerald Fennell was talking about the movie, saying that it was meant to be the adaptation of a 14-year-old girl's experience reading Wuthering Heights.
That was me.
Yeah, where it's like she's not necessarily trying to get the commentary correct or an adaptation correct. It's just more of like the vibes of the romance.
And the vibes were good. They were insane. So like,
yeah.
There's this scene. Wait, sorry. Can I spoil something? Or no?
Yeah, I'm not going to watch the movie unless I'm hate watching it.
Okay. Yeah, because it's not like a good, I don't know. Like, once again, I'm not a... Like, it's not like probably a good movie, really, but like, I liked it. But there's this scene where Heathcliff and have you read Wuthering Heights?
I think I read like 60 pages of it because it was assigned to me in school and I hated it. I'd love to go back and try it again because I think I'm a
Yeah.
different changed person now. But at that point, I was not able to get through Wuthering Heights or Great Expectations. Both of those I
Yeah.
had a real strong vendetta against.
Yeah. Well, in the book, Heathcliff, same thing in the movie, Heathcliff marries Kathy. Catherine marries a man,
Okay.
and this man has a sister. Heathcliff, like, vengeful, marries the sister to piss Catherine off, basically.
Okay. Healthy.
Yeah. Sister's name is Isabella, I think. Isabella. And in the movie, Isabella is just kind of like having good sex with Heathcliff, and so she's like, this is fun, like I don't really care that he doesn't love me or anything, and she's like helping him get back at Kathy, and they're trying to get her to come save Isabella. And so they set up this like crazy BDSM-esque ritual thing to, like, they write her a letter and they're like, she's like, come save me, he's terrible, he's horrible, but it ends up being like someone else who comes. But like, the door to their home opens and like Isabella's like tied up with chains and barking like a dog, like in front of a fireplace, and like he's like yanking the chains and giving her commands, and it's like, so like that, my point in giving this context is like that's what's going on in this movie, like, and that's clearly not happening in the book. Is it like maybe making fun of a community of like sex, like I don't know. You know what? Is it making fun of someone's kink? Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's doing that. And it's just like insane. Like, it's just like that. It's like laughable almost. Like, it's almost like absurd sometimes, like what it's doing in the movie. And so if you're a Wuthering Heights book lover, you're probably going to hate it because it was like stupid.
Yeah. I think that I have lost a lot of faith in Emerald Fennell as a filmmaker as she has continued to put out more films, where I think that she has a really weird talent for being able to make the message of her movie the exact opposite of what she wanted it to be. And I don't necessarily know how she is consistently doing that, but she just keeps putting out movies where she's like, this is what the movie is about. And then I watch the movie and I'm like, no, it's not. You somehow you managed to do exactly what you didn't want to do with with this one, and now you're being apologetic for rich people. That's a fucked up position to take, I think.
Yeah. Anyways, sorry, I talked for a while about that, but it was a fun experience.
Nice. I was also going to talk about a movie that I saw not too terribly long ago, which was the brand new movie nominated, I believe, for Best Picture. If it's not, it had to have been, but Marty Supreme,
Oh, I
starring
haven't seen that.
Timothy Chalamet as Marty Mauser, the ping pong playing legend. This movie rocks. This movie kicks ass. I don't think that it is the best movie that came out last year. I think that probably No Battle After Another is the best movie that came out last year. We'll see if that's how things shake out at the Oscars, but it's definitely like number 2 for the year. It's really, really, really good. The story about the movie is essentially following a young guy who's trying to make it big as a professional ping pong player. And the kind of thesis of the movie, I guess, is really looking at how the things that you put your time and attention and care into end up being the things that define your life. Where if you put all of your focus into something as seemingly trivial as playing ping pong, then ping pong can seem like the whole world. And if you have put all of your focus into ping pong, then when real life shit is happening around you, it doesn't feel as high stakes as it should, because you've kind of stripped your life of everything except for ping pong. And I liked it a lot. I thought that Kevin O'Leary, the guy from Shark Tank, he's in it. He is in real life a piece of shit, and in the movie is playing a piece of shit, so he knocks that role right out of the park. I don't think he was acting. He just... I don't know if he knew they were filming, honestly. He was just being himself.
He just showed up.
It's also got Gwyneth Paltrow, and
Yeah.
Gwyneth, you have got to stop with the goop shit. Like, you got to stop with all of this woo-woo health is medicine platforming that you've been doing for the past 20 years, but you're a great actress. You did you did a bang up job in this. You gotta shut down goop. That is a net negative on society from you. And then Timmy, love Timmy.
Sorry, you say your piece about Timmy.
he a lot of people didn't like when he came out and accepted an award and said that he wanted to be one of the greats, that he wanted to be considered one of the best actors of his generation. I think we need people with that kind of drive. We need somebody out there who's willing to step up and put a dog in the fight and say, no, I don't want to just be famous. I don't want to just be an actor. I want to be one of the best to ever do it. And I don't know if you're there yet, but you're working on it. You're really, really good. And you were great in this one. I hope you get that Oscar.
Yeah, I think everything I've ever seen Timothée Chalamet in, I've been impressed, and also everything I've ever learned about him as an actor is that, like, he works really hard. Like, he really commits to each part that he lands.
Apparently, for this movie, he spent like several months to a year playing ping pong in preparation. Like, when he was in the desert filming for Dune Part 2, he had a ping pong table on set. And whenever he was not shooting, he was playing ping pong.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of dedication that we need. That's the drive that I'm looking for.
No, and I think that, like, what's wrong with saying you want to be one of the greats? That's a great aspiration to have, so.
Yeah. Also, Tyler, the Creator, is in it. And as far as musicians turned actors go, certainly not the worst. I don't know if he's been in enough stuff that I can definitively say one of the best, but he's certainly better than Will Smith, so.
Yeah.
But enough about modern movies in modern times. Let's talk about the movie Modern Times from the old times. Modern Times, for those who are unfamiliar, is a 1936 movie that was written, produced, directed by Charlie Chaplin, one of the all-time greatest filmmakers, all-time greatest actors, generally well regarded in both of those spheres. This movie is the last installment of the, like, cinematic universe, I guess, that involves the Tramp. Charlie Chaplin was known for several movies, one of which we've already talked about before, where he's playing a character who's just unnamed but generally referred to as the Tramp. This is the last movie in which the Tramp features. So, we're wrapping up the narrative here. We're coming to a close. We'll talk more about the plot in a minute here, but I was just going to talk about the fact that it is well regarded as a movie, one of the best movies ever made. It's in the Letterboxd top 250 movies of all time list. It was in the top 250 list for Sight and Sound in, I believe, 2005. And it's gotten a nod a couple of times as being a top 100 movie in a couple of different lists. So, really well regarded movie. But, Sydney, first impressions, general thoughts. Did you know anything about this movie going into it?
I'd heard of it, but no, for anyone who's been here since the OG Satire Fire days, we we watched, as Samuel just mentioned, The Kid, a Charlie Chaplin movie, and that was my first ever Charlie Chaplin movie. So this is my second. And yeah, so I didn't really know much about it, but I had heard of it because I think it's like, is it his most known movie or most
It's
well-known?
up there. His most well-known movie is probably The Dictator, which is
where he plays Hitler.
satirical interpretation of Hitler in
Yeah.
and like the Third Reich.
Yeah. But yeah, I didn't really know anything about the plot or...
Does that also mean that this is your second ever silent movie?
Yes. I have not added any into the... I did though when I was in London last fall. I don't remember if I mentioned this on the podcast, but there was a street performer at Covent Garden who was a Charlie Chaplin impersonator. So that was fun.
That is fun. Speaking of it being a silent movie, outside of some parodies or novelty films that have come out since then, this was the last major release of a silent movie in America. After this point, every movie that ever came out was a talkie, which makes it interesting. So that means that the very last dialogue that is shown on the screen in this movie, which is attributed to the tramp who is saying, "Buck up, never say die, we'll get along." That is the last dialogue ever shown in a major American movie in a silent film.
Whoa, that's interesting. This one actually had some talking at the beginning with the director of The Factory.
Yes.
And that surprised me because I watched it with my partner and I was like, oh, I mean, I think neither of us are super in like watching a movie like place. And I was like, well, it'll be a silent film, so there won't be like talking. And then like we're not that far into the movie and someone's talking and I'm like, oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's like a partial talkie. Like this was very much like on the cusp of switching over. He made this movie predominantly silent as a stylistic choice, not necessarily as a limitation of the medium, as was the case beforehand. But talking about the early parts of the movie, let's go ahead and talk about the plot a little bit. This one is kind of a meandering as a plot goes, so I'm going to do my best to hit the highlights. The tramp is working on an assembly line where he is basically filling the role of stereotypical assembly line worker, kind of like the over exaggerated version of what I think Kurt Vonnegut was seeing hints of whenever he was writing Player Piano, where essentially like his entire job, the tramp, is standing at a point on the assembly line. A part moves in front of him and it has 2 bolts on it, and his job is just to tighten both of the bolts one turn. And so he's just standing there all day just tightening the same 2 bolts over and 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 over. And that's where we that's where we find him. And that would be such a shit job. That would suck so bad. A job that would not suck, though, is one, there's the factory owner who's kind of like deciding how fast the different lanes and assembly lines should be operating. But right beneath him is this just like hunk of a dude who is not wearing a shirt. And it seems like his whole job is just to pull levers. And that would beat ass as a job. Just hang out reading a newspaper and then occasionally pull some levers and just tarps off the whole time. I don't know what his whole thing is. I don't know what his job title is, but it does rock as a job. It's
just so easy, but like also kind of like I bet it's a little bit of a power trip. Like you're in control.
The embodiment of the middle manager, honestly. So eventually the factory owner gets pitched on an idea from an inventor of a robot that can feed employees while they are still standing on the line. His pitch is basically, hey, every single day you've got to shut down production so that these bozos can take a break for lunch. Well, what if they could eat standing up, and then they can take their lunch break while never actually stopping their work? This machine fails spectacularly in a lot of humorous ways. This is a very slapstick kind of moment. But this is just really meant as a satirical interpretation of the ways in which factory owners were trying to chip away literally as much of the workers' time as they possibly could in order to get as many parts made as possible. Despite the fact that the feeding machine does not work, the tramp is still having to work his job that is overly repetitive and awful, and this leads to him having just like a mental breakdown. Like, he gets totally fried. He's going around and tightening things that are not bolts with his wrenches and loosening things, and he's turning stuff on and he's turning stuff off. Like, he just starts running amok, really, which I can't blame him for this one. Yeah. I would also go crazy. He then gets sent to a facility of some kind. It's a little bit unclear, but he's going to some, presumably a mental hospital. And when he gets out, he now is in the middle of the Great Depression, and his factory is closed, his job is gone. He has suddenly found himself very much unemployed and at threat of being unhoused. Almost as soon as he gets out, he accidentally joins a communist march that is trying to bring about changing working conditions for the various workers. Again, does not intend to join this march, just happens to accidentally find himself not only in the march, but leading the march, which results in the cops arresting him. Now that he's in prison, he accidentally eats some cocaine that another person has smuggled in, and the jazzed up energy that he gets from eating the cocaine results in him preventing a jailbreak from happening, and which I'm just saying, fucked up. That's pro cop. If you see somebody stealing food, no you didn't. If you see somebody breaking out of prison, also no you didn't.
No you didn't. Look, he's on cocaine. Honestly,
he ends up getting... Wait, did you have something?
No, not important. I was just gonna say lucky that like fentanyl wasn't a thing then, because he, just accidentally.
Yeah, that was a lethal dose had it been fentanyl.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot about cocaine. I would argue it was probably a lethal dose of cocaine.
That's a lot of cocaine.
Because of the fact that he did such a good job of preventing... He was such a good little prisoner and prevented a jailbreak, he gets released on good behavior with a little note from the sheriff that says, "I would trust this guy with my fucking life. Mm-hmm. Please give him a job." So now he's walking around town trying to figure out how to get a job. This does not serve him very well. He tries to get a job at a shipyard and accidentally sinks a ship. He goes to another couple of places and ends up realizing that he would actually just rather be in prison right now than try and navigate the job market. And you know what?
Yeah.
Fair.
Okay, Shawshank Redemption.
It is very Shawshank Redemption, a little bit less dark, though.
A little bit less dark, yeah.
He ends up, in his attempts to, find his way back into prison, running into a orphan girl, whose name is Ellen, who is trying to steal some bread in order to survive. But the tramp takes credit for the stolen bread, saying, no, she didn't steal it, I stole it. in the hopes of being arrested. Like, I think that Ellen interprets this as a very selfless act from the tramp, when in reality, the tramp didn't really care about getting her off the hook. It was just about, oh, hell yeah, I would love to be back in prison right now.
I have a question about Ellen, because it, like, is referring to her as an orphan, but she has a dad.
Who dies?
Oh, wait. The dad, like, from the banana scene dies?
Yes.
Oh, wait.
You must have missed that part, but yeah.
Was I not looking at this? Was it quick?
I mean, it's just like, yeah, it is pretty quick, where it's like the cops come to tell her and her sisters that the dad is dead, and also at the same time
I saw that.
collect her to go to the orphanage, and then she runs away.
Yes. Okay. No. I kind of like lose focus because there's no dialogue. And I like, because I was like, wait, why is it saying she's an orphan? Like, why is she an orphan?
So they end up trying to get it like cleared up. He gets set free because he didn't actually steal the bread. So instead, he goes into a cafeteria, eats a bunch of food, and then dines and dashes, making sure that a cop sees him do so that he can get arrested. He ends up getting thrown into a paddy wagon with a bunch of other convicts, and it just so happens that Ellen is also there, having been arrested for stealing bread. Again, I would like to emphasize for the audience out there, if you see someone stealing food, no you didn't. Keep your fucking mouth shut. They end up being in the paddy wagon when it crashes, and it allows them to escape from the scene. They are now on the run, and while on the run, decide that they're going to actually start a life together and be a family and buy a house and live in a beautiful little house together. Now, we've entered into the weird moral area of this movie of we did refer to Ellen as being an orphan. And that is because Ellen is definitely not 18. She looks older than 18, so I would assume the actress is, but in the canon of the movie, this is probably like a 16-year-old girl, and I don't know if it's ever specified how old the tramp is, but he does have like a mustache, and he looks like a 30-year-old man. So I don't know what the age gap is supposed to be there, but it does have some very, very strange energy happening between by having them be attracted to one another the way that they are.
Yeah. I was just trying to look up how old the actress was. 20 in her 20s.
Yeah, which she looks in her 20s. She definitely does not look like a teenager.
But he was, I mean,
he would have been in his 40s.
She was born in 1910, and he's born in 1889. So he still was like, but I mean, it was like legal and everything.
Yeah, but I mean, I assume canonically in the movie she's probably 17, and back then that was an okay thing. But like, still, it was a little bit of a jump scare for it to be like, oh, you're romancing an orphan, like legally an orphan who the cops are looking for because she's an orphan.
Yeah.
But as a attempt to get their new life put together and started, he ends up getting a job using his sheriff's reference as a night watchman at a department store. He ends up letting Ellen into the department store after hours so that they can hang out and just like act like rich people, kind of like sleep on all the display beds. And there is a fun little stunt scene where he is roller skating blindfolded, and it just so happens that he's roller skating on a platform that is right next to some broken railing, and should he fall off of the edge, it would be like a 5-story fall down to the ground floor. This was something that he practiced for like 3 months before executing. Wow. However, it's worth noting that the fall is not real. I don't know if you picked up on this, Sydney, but that was actually a painting that was on a piece of glass that they put right in front of the camera. So that it just, like, depth of field tricked you into thinking that there was a fall. So it was still a tricky thing to do because he was actually roller skating blindfolded, and he did have to stay in frame in order for the, like, bit to work.
Yeah.
But he was not at threat of life or limb while filming it.
I assumed not. It seemed weird, but, like, yeah, I didn't know exactly what was happening.
It just so happens that early on in his stint as a night watchman, the department store gets broken into. He goes down to try and intervene and finds out that this crew of department store thieves is actually someone who he met in prison. And they're just trying to get by. They got out of prison and in a similar situation couldn't get a job, and they're just trying to find some food and do their best. He gets drunk with them, wakes up, and ends up getting arrested because he did not report the burglars to the police. And so now he is he is in custody once again for what I think is probably the 5th time in the movie so far. It's now an indeterminate amount of time later, but presumably like a couple of days that he had to stay in prison. I don't really know, but in the meantime, whenever he gets out of prison, Ellen has found them a rundown shack to live in. He joins her in the shack. It is falling to pieces. There's all kinds of stuff wrong with it. There's holes in the floor. There's brooms that are holding up the ceiling. But it's a house, and they're going to make it into a home, so they're pretty excited about that. He decides, because he read in a newspaper that there's going to be a factory opening back up, he's going to try to get a job as a mechanic's assistant at a factory. Basically, the same day that he becomes the assistant to the mechanic, all of the workers at the factory go on strike because of working conditions, and because of a pratfall accidental incident, a policeman gets hit by a brick, and they think that he threw it at the policeman. So here he is, arrest number 6 in the movie for inciting a riot and throwing bricks at cops. Again, he gets released. In the meantime, Ellen now has a job working as a entertainment dancer in a, like, cafe diner style, like, drinks and dinner and entertainment kind of a venue. She gets him a job as a waiter / singer, which he is not a very good waiter, but it turns out that he's a pretty good singer, simply because he is able to act out a whole routine that is, I found it funny. I thought that it was a rather good use of miming and like a really good example of how storytelling had to be done during silent era films. Like, obviously they're using the lyrics and stuff like that, but the lyrics are all nonsense. And so you just kind of have to gather from the motions that he's making and the faces that he's making, like, what is happening in this nonsense song. This song actually got sampled later on by a rapper in a song that was also called Modern Times. Fun fact. That song also referenced a line from The Great Director, or The Great Dictator. So, fun fact, Charlie Chaplin has been put up into the rafters as a part of rap culture now. Basically, as soon as he finishes with his song, Ellen gets arrested because she is an escaped unaccompanied minor. Like, the fact that she didn't accept going into the orphanage meant that she broke the law. She's supposed to go back to the orphanage. So, presumably, all of the amount of time between them meeting and now had to not be enough time for her to have become a legal adult at this point. Unless you can get arrested for being an orphan after turning 18 because you escaped when you were still a minor. But that feels like a wild thing to be able to be put in prison over. The cops are unsuccessful in their attempts to arrest Ellen, and so she and the tramp escape yet again, flee the town, and are now walking down the road on the lam, heading into some bright unknown future together. And that's when we get that last title card that I mentioned, which is the last title card in a major American motion picture. And that's the end of the movie. So, Sydney, first thoughts. What did you think of this picture?
I really liked it. I think I liked it more than the kid.
Okay.
And I liked the kid. I don't know. I think it had like more to say than the kid did.
Yeah.
Not that the kid didn't have anything important to say, but I think it was a good social, political, I guess, commentary.
Yeah.
And I liked that. It was long. It was a little long for a silent film, in my opinion, potentially. I don't know if
it's a lot longer than The Kid, for sure. And it does kind of feel like it drags a little bit in the middle, I think.
Yeah.
But I think part of that is because it's just like the slapstick humor is not as constantly present as it is in The Kid. So it kind of feels like it's more of a movie and less of a comedy.
Yeah.
Really.
I guess I thought it was like a better movie than I thought The Kid was. Maybe like The Kid is a bit more enjoyable to watch, potentially.
Yeah.
I really did love the opening sequence that led to his like nervous break. I thought that was great, like really well done. And I've seen slapstick comedy related to assembly lines and other media, and I'm assuming they were probably inspired by this because it was probably
almost
the
certainly
first. And so that was cool. I didn't really get the ending, but I felt that way last time too. I kind of like, what is this guy's ending? So they're all like, it's gonna be okay. Maybe.
What do you think about the commentary that it is making? I feel like I paired this with Player Piano, but I think that this, while it does touch on some of the mechanization and automation that is the core of Player Piano, this has a lot of other things to say about like society broadly.
Yeah. I think it was doing two main things commentary wise. I think it was commenting on class and that like there's not really upwards mobility if you are in a lower class. Like you really just can't, like you see him and Ellen consistently trying to get into a quote unquote better place. And they just can't. And like obviously there's the joke that like he's bad at every job he does, but like still like it's like no matter what they do, whether it's like if they engage, you're damned if you engage in criminal activity to try to survive, but if you don't, then like you can't have a job that's sustainable for your mental health or sustainable for your physical health or will pay you enough to live in a way. And so I think that was like the big thing I got from it more than like the automation, and was just that like if you're born with that luck, like there's really no way to get out of it. But maybe the end was like, but you have community and you have future. I don't know. And then the other thing I think it was doing was just like commenting on like how a lot of industrial oriented jobs like dehumanize a person.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
The automation and yeah. But I actually think the first critique it was making was like the better of the two, or the more enduring.
Definitely. I would agree with that. I think that the movie for sure has a lot to say that was very particular to the time period of the Great Depression, where it's very like interested in examining like, well, how is the common person meant to survive Like, what is somebody supposed to do in order to make it through this time period in which a lot of rich people are getting to stay rich, or in some cases become even more wealthy, whereas your common person kind of only has the options of falling into crime in order to get by, like doing simple stuff like stealing bread and going to prison as a result of stealing bread because they're hungry and that's the only way that they're going to eat. Or if you don't become in some way involved in those like things that have been criminalized, then you just starve. It's really kind of highlighting, I think, the lack, particularly in America, of any kind of a social safety net that could exist in order to help in these situations. Like, I think that it is kind of talking a little bit about rich people and a little bit about the ways in which the upper classes make life a little bit worse for the lower classes. But I think more broadly, it is interested in telling the story of people that are lower class individuals, and in doing so, highlighting the failings that have to take place in order for somebody to end up in that situation, and kind of like calling into question, are we as a society comfortable making those compromises and letting people end up in these positions? And I think it's really interesting.
Yeah, I agree. I think that like in both of the Charlie Chaplin movies that we've watched, it also has this like, there's been children in each of them. And these are children like living in poverty. And I think in some ways that's better now. It's better now. There are probably less children living in poverty than there were in the 1930s. In terms of like
100%.
Yeah, but so I think like it was maybe also a comment on the times that they were living in. But I think that too is really like shows you how like it doesn't matter if you're a woman, a man, woman, or child. Like it doesn't matter who you are. If you're just like born into this situation, then like the system doesn't care. Like, because I mean, and yeah, there's like child labor laws now, and like
allegedly
you can't just and you can't just like arrest a child for stealing bread. Like there has to be more happening in the allegedly. Like, the legal system is more complex than just like, oh, this kid's stealing bread. Let me.
Yeah, you got to do something in addition to steal bread, like be black.
Then you can get like.
Yeah, then murdered. You get tried as an adult.
But yeah, I think that is like an interesting aspect of potentially. I've only watched 2 of his films, but I'm like, I like that. I like that he's including not just like the tramp character, who is obviously a low-income white man, but he's also including children in the mix, which I feel like makes a larger impact on people's like emotional empathy towards these situations. I don't know.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. So something that I thought about while watching it, early on in the movie, you have the factory owner watching all of the workers over the cameras. He's got the big bank of, like, the big wall that's a ton of TV screens. And whenever he's talking to the, like, middle manager who's changing all the levers and stuff, he shows up on a massive TV screen, just like as a huge head on the TV screen. Very, in my mind, 1984 coded was the vibes that I got from it. This movie came out several years before 1984 was written. Do you think George Orwell saw this movie, and do you think he was inspired by it in any way?
Yeah, I think that like maybe especially like the way that the professional system, the workplace system of 1984 was designed, I could see how it might be inspired by this movie. I mean, 1984 is less assembly line and more like, but it is very like, you have a specific job that's the exact same every single day, and you're being watched and you're being directed, and you can only do a few things in your job, like you put the paper into the chute, and
and if you step out of line, you get arrested.
Yeah. And so I can see how, like, he might have taken inspiration from this movie for sure.
Sweet. So, I think we can get into final thoughts and even reviews, but before we talk about our reviews, we're going to take a little bit of a look at your reviews as an audience. So I found 4 1-star, or not even 1-star, these are 4 half-star reviews on the movie rating platform Letterboxd. And I'm going to send 2 of them to Sid, and then we will each take turns reading one. Now, why did those screenshots not save?
Oh, did you update your phone?
No. Or wait, yeah, I did. Is this a new
you
thing?
have to both... So you have to both, like... You have to do, like, 2 steps after you do the screenshot. You have to, like, press check, and then you have to, like, save. It's, like, a whole process. It's very annoying. My mom had this issue, and she was like, I keep screenshotting things, and they're not saving.
Well, fuck Apple. Okay, give me a second. I've got to get them both. If you or a loved one works at Apple, and you would like a couple of notes on the ways in which your new your new operating system sucks ass, I would love to provide some.
Yeah. No, it's so, like, that's so unnecessary. Why did we need to... Maybe it was trying to prevent you from accidentally screenshotting things, but, like, you didn't need to do all that.
And, I mean, was that a problem before accidental screenshots? I've never accidentally screenshotted something and then been like, oh no, now it's on my phone forever.
Yeah. You just go delete it. Like...
Okay, I've sent you 2 of them. You can read them whichever order you want to.
All right, so my dear friend Skylar, in 2020, literally like less than a month ago, watched Modern Times, gave it half a star, and said, "Is this a safe place to say I dislike old movies that are sped up and extremely unfunny?" Sped up. Oh, I see what they mean by sped up, because like the slapstick comedy sections are really, and some of it is, yeah.
I thought it was funny.
Extremely unfunny is kind of harsh.
I could see if maybe it didn't land for you, but I do think that it's pretty funny.
It's okay to dislike old movies. I think that's...
So this review is from Ken Greer, another half-star review from July 8th, 2025. Another horrible 1930s movie. All movies seem to be terrible before this 1960s or 70s. I don't get Chaplin at all.
People are really hating old movies.
That's a lot of movie to cut out of your life. Like, movies didn't get good until the 60s? That's crazy.
Yeah. That is crazy. There's great movies before the 60s.
Comment below what your favorite pre-1960 movie is.
This person's username is like numbers, and anyways, it doesn't matter, but they in 2023 said tomfoolery, horseplay, buffoonery, shenanigans, monkey business. What more could you want in a film? Hater.
I agree. All of those are good things to have in a film. I love when my movies have a little buffoonery.
I wanted tomfoolery. I came for the tomfoolery, and Charlie gave me tomfoolery.
Exactly. That boy did nothing but fool around Tom style. All right, last review from 2023. I would literally rather shoot myself than have to watch another film made before the 90s.
Did someone hold you at gunpoint to watch this? What does that mean?
So here's the deal. Being such a well-regarded and well-respected movie, this movie gets played a lot in college cinema studies classes. And so I think that there are a lot of college freshmen who think they want to be film directors but have only watched like Marvel movies, and they are being sat down in a lecture hall and shown a silent black and white movie for the first time and actually might want to kill themselves.
Yeah. It's quite different than the Avengers, but
You think they got Bluey in this theater?
Bluey. Oh my gosh.
Maybe they would like Charlie Chaplin movies better if we... Because, like, those movies were already shot with a pretty tight aspect ratio. I bet we could slide Modern Times over to one side of the screen and then right beside it put up a live screen cap of somebody playing Temple Runners or Subway Surfers or something like that. And, like, maybe then you could really lock in.
Yeah. Someone, like, making slime.
Yeah. What if... you know what? I can fix this movie. We just need to put vertical orientation, Family Guy, best moments clips running beside it for the entire duration. So, like, if you ever get bored, just look to the left and there will be a 5-second clip of Stewie doing something that you won't believe.
Well, what'd you give it? What's your review, Samuel?
For me, this was like a 3.5-star movie. I didn't like it as much as the kid. I don't think that I necessarily liked it as much as some people like it, but I thought that it was pretty good. I just felt like it was a bit meandering at times.
Yeah, it's meandering.
And I feel like it didn't necessarily... It felt like the movie was uncomfortable being a comedy. That, like, it knew that it was supposed to be a comedy, but it had some difficulty relaying its message in a comedic way. And so you ended up with, like, pockets that are really funny, and then stretches that are not very funny. And I think that I would have preferred if it just leaned one way or the other for the whole runtime. But overall, I liked it. I thought that it was good. I gave it a positive review. What about you? How did you come out of this one? You said you liked it more than the kid.
I feel like you're making me rethink that, because I just think I'm supposed to like it more than the kid because of the commentary. Like, I just felt like it was, like, supposed to be better. And it said more.
Yeah, it did.
And so I was like, oh, this is a better movie. I did get, like, clearly I missed, like, plot points. I did get bored watching it, if I'm being honest, in comparison. But I think that was mainly just because it was long. Like, I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't, like, watch a silent film for an hour and a half. Like, that's a long time for me to be in front of a screen.
I do think
words.
that the best silent movies that I've seen have been around the, like, 60-minute mark. Like, 50 or 60 minutes is, like, really quick, really tight for that format. Once you get to the hour and a half mark, like, that is a long time to be locked in.
Yeah. Because, like, yeah, maybe I did enjoy the kid more. Maybe I just thought this was, like, making more of an impact, which clearly it did make more of an impact. Yeah, I don't know. I'd give it, like, I'd give it some stars.
An indeterminate number of stars, for sure.
I would, like, recommend it if someone was like, I want to watch a silent film. Should I watch Modern Times? I'd be like, well, of the 2 films that I've watched that were silent, I'd say sure.
We'll do a silent movie special at some point where I make you watch, like, an actual good silent movie. Then you can, like, seem like a film buff if anybody ever asks you for a silent movie recommendation.
Yeah.
Did you like it better than Wuthering Heights?
No.
Do you think it was a better movie than Wuthering Heights?
That's like taking, like, that's like being like, is 1984, a better book than A Court of Thorns and Roses. Like, yeah. Yeah, period. But, like...
I thought you were going to go somewhere else with that, like, drag it out a little bit more.
But did I, like, at times enjoy A Court of Thorns and Roses more than 1984? Yeah, because, like...
Fair.
There's an entire philosophy textbook in 1984. And the last part of that book is, like, drags on. So yeah, it's like a better movie. Okay.
Fair enough. And you heard it here first. Emerald Fennel can go kick rocks.
But it's a really, I will, like, once again, it's so pretty. It's so pretty. Whoever was working on the set and, like, I don't know what you call that, but when you, like, pick, like, on-site filming locations and the costumes, and I'm sure the Emerald Fennel contributed to, like, the framing, like, of this, you know, how it's symmetrical and the way, but whoever also, the creative director maybe of this film, like, 8, like, whoever you are, whoever they are, these people,
congratulations. Go off, kings and queens. But that is going to do it for us for this week. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Satire Fire podcast. If you enjoyed the podcast, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, rate us 5 stars wherever you are listening. Be sure to tell a friend. Our intro and outro are remixes of the song 48 by Cullah. And Sydney, if folks want to talk to us before next week, where can they find us?
Yeah, we are on Instagram at the Satire Fire Pod, P-O-D, and on TikTok, Blue Sky, and YouTube at the Satire Fire. You can follow us, you can like any posts we have, you can DM us, whatever you want to do, we appreciate it. And yeah, rate us 5 stars, comment on the podcast on whatever platform you're listening, DM me personally and say how I'm the best podcast host that you have ever heard speak, and whatever compliments.
And if you do think that Sydney is the best podcast host that you have ever heard, fear not, because next week it will be Sydney doing significantly more talking as my series has come to an end and hers is about to begin. So, Sydney, what are you going to be telling us about next week?
Yeah, so as Samuel mentioned earlier in the episode, we're going to be starting a series on the novella, very short, recent book by Dave Eggers called The Captain and the Glory. And if you want to listen to this book, it probably depends on your local library, but I found it as an audiobook on Libby, which is, an app you can get, and you can check out ebooks and audiobooks through your local library. And I don't know, I think because it's so short, it could be a great audiobook. So if you're like, oh man, I want to read this, it's short before, and you don't want to buy a copy of it, you don't know what it's about, whatever, I'd recommend Libby. There's my little Libby plug for the moment.
Absolutely. Which is always a good shout out to remember to support your local librarians. This has been the Satire Fire. I am Samuel.
I'm Sydney.
And we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
I just about come to the end of the road. Here, I've just about lost patience with you people. You get your ass out into the mountains or someplace, or hide in there and watch that damn tube. But if not, fuck it. I'm done. In fact, my sermon